we may not use anything.
Yeah. So the concentric circle thing, like again, I think it has analogies that you can use going in or out with your circles. But like I said, I've seen it both ways. But I always start at the top with blame. It's almost like I always start with myself of taking responsibility for everything. But if a manager's involved on base level things that he shouldn't be, you've got to back him out. You got to let him take a second, not be a helicopter parent. Another way to look at it, right?
Hmm.
Um, but also, like,
Are you talking about forcing delegation, or are you talking about
yes,
not micromanaging?
both. Yeah, I think both are applicable here. I guess in my mind, I was saying not micromanaging.
Okay.
Um,
So you're talking
like,
about from your perspective as a leader in the organization, as a C-level,
yeah,
owner or whatever,
a
talking
leader
about
of leaders. Yeah,
managing down.
yeah. Um, it always seems to be one of the things I feel like I'm correcting more, like, the most is getting newer managers, newer leaders to just take a breath and let their guys figure it out for a second.
Well, and I think that's the development piece that a lot of management in organizations fail at is they hire a position or they promote into a position someone into it. Let's call it a manager position.
Yep.
Um, and they the reason they did it is because their skill set was good, right? They were technically good. They were, whatever the case, but they've never managed anybody before. So the only person they've managed is themselves, and
Or
they've
not
done a good,
successfully.
yeah, or
Right.
they've managed themselves, but they haven't managed others. So that comes in with the trust issue, the delegate. You can't assume that people know how to manage, even if they're management material. And
Yes.
so the development side from a business owner's perspective has to be the focus whenever you're hiring somebody into that position or promoting somebody. You can't just have an unfair expectation of, well, I hired you to do this, you should know how to do it. You
Yep.
got to, there's a training, whether you're starting at a staff level or a management level, um, there's training at every level. And,
Yep.
and, and so the higher up you get, the closer that gets to the C-suite executives and owners of the business to ensure that training is done effectively and timely. You can't wait, you know, 6, 9 months down the road and be like, okay, well, this person doesn't know a damn thing about our business or a damn thing about this department.
Hmm.
We better do something about it. Like you have to have a game plan on how to introduce somebody and how to train somebody up and give them the tools to succeed and help your business succeed. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah. It's a large transition going from player to coach.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult thing, and I know I've made references to this already, but most new leaders have, in my experience, have this idea that their management style is mean, like that they only know how to get results by through negative feedback and micromanaging
Hmm.
and being on someone's ass, for lack of better words. It's like there's easier, more productive ways of doing this. Typically, there's a personal side of it of like knowing your subordinates, knowing your employees, understanding what makes them tick, and sometimes some folks don't respond to anything other than when you get mad, or
Right.
at least when you're perceived to be mad. Uh, but those folks aren't very common, in my experience. I think most people do better with some positive reinforcement,
The
and you
only
can get
time,
more out of them. And it's like sometimes it's just take a step back and like really ask yourself, what are you doing here?
yeah.
What is your purpose? Like, what you want the most effective team? That's great. Are you going to be able to achieve that with just micromanaging and running around and screaming at everybody how they screwed up every little detail? Like, is
Hmm.
that what's going to make the best team?
Yeah. And, sometimes it requires, you have to be an asshole. But for me,
Yeah.
it, I typically only either actually lose my temper or, say it with some force behind it when I have to,
Say
when
it with your
somebody's making,
chest.
when, when somebody's making the same mistake over and over again, and we've
Yes.
had discussions about it. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't mind the mistakes, but what I
Yep.
mind is when you completely ignore the discussions we've had to reinforce, like, look, we messed up here. I get it. Let's not do this again. This is how this works. Be conscious of it. And then the
Yep.
next week, the same thing happens again. We're going to have a real talk that's not going to be as friendly as it was the first time. And if it
Right.
happens a third time, then it's going to be the third and, if not corrected, last time.
Right.
Like, I'm not
Uh,
going to keep babysitting and keep giving warnings and keep, hand holding. Like, either you get it or you don't, but I don't have time. I have time to invest in training you correctly and getting things right and making sure you're comfortable and you have the tools to succeed. But I don't have the time to babysit you and handhold you throughout your entire career.
right. Yep. One of my favorite things, like when I hear you say that, this is where my mind goes. One of my favorite things to tell to newer managers is catch your guys doing something right. And
Yeah.
I must I have to say it at least a dozen times to every new manager because it's like it's not natural to just run around and give a bunch of compliments. At least in my world, it's not. But there's a lot of real world utility in that, and what it ends up doing is you create a trust and a bond with your guys, and so when you do have to have harder conversations, when you do have to bring your guys down a notch and have negative conversations, you get away from, or at least that's the goal for me, or what I found is like if a guy trusts me enough and he already knows that I'm not out to get him, like I'm not out to just browbeat him or micromanage him or all the other little negative things. He knows that I care about what he does. He knows that I think he's good in general. Um, he will take the criticism way better. And my little litmus test is almost like children, but if you can have, if I can have a conversation with you reprimanding you for something that I think you did wrong, when the excuses stop and the ownership starts, they know that I'm coming at him from a real world. I just need this. I need this fixed. There's a reason we're addressing it. And yep, got it. That's on me. Because he
Hmm.
knows there's a dozen other good things I know he does. Like I don't have to. I don't have to have the proverbial shit sandwich conversation every single time.
Right.
But
Right.
I've built up enough
Yeah.
goodwill.
They're not checking their phone going, oh shit, it's Win. I'm not answering this
Right.
because it could be a good conversation or a bad conversation.
Yeah.
And
And
most
obviously,
likely it's going to be good.
I mean, age old. No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care, kind of thing. Like there's a security. I think that's like when you talk about morale and culture and all those things that mean so much and but also are so hard to pinpoint and so almost obscure to actually try to make differences in within your own culture.
Yeah.
Um,
I think there's a fine balance between, though, you're catching your folks doing something good. Um, because I've been in environments where that becomes the expectation, right? So
yeah,
it's every time there's a slip up, it's yeah, but I did this over here. Remember when
yeah,
I
and
did
that's what you
this and I
don't
did
want.
this and it's like and I've already recognized what you've done well. Now
Yeah,
let's address the things that you're messing up on and to make you better. The
yeah,
goal is to do everything well, but you have to be open to because as soon as I hear, yeah, but what about when I did this? Like you're all of a sudden I know you're now not listening to what I'm saying. You're not
yeah. You're
addressing the
that's
situation.
those are the excuses that I like. I don't deal with. If if your response is yeah, but or I was just or
Hmm.
fucking stop.
Or I'm not making excuses. I'm just giving reasons. Like that's it's the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
You're giving reasons why you're not listening.
If you have to frame it because I don't want excuses to say, well, I'm just explaining.
Right.
No, I just need you to say, okay, this sucked. I don't need to know all the details necessarily. Here's the outcome. The situation that drove the outcome is almost irrelevant because the outcome is what we didn't want to happen. So
Yep.
how do we prevent this from, let's work the problem backwards. Not,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, but at the beginning, so and so did this, and so it messed me up. Well, how do you prevent yourself? Let's work backwards from that and say, how do I prevent myself from being in this situation or my organization from being in this situation? And a
Right.
lot of it is that proactive, you have to have those debriefs,
Hmm.
the postmortems of like, okay, this went great. The after action report. What did we do good? What did we mess up on? What can we improve? Um, and you have to do it
The
in,
hot washes.
yeah, you have to do it in good situations and bad situations, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Um, and it has to be sort of that safe zone where like I can say whatever I want and not worry about repercussions because I'm
Yep.
being real about the situation. So it's not a personal attack on somebody. Even if when you screw this meeting up and it's your fault, and I say, Win, what in the hell are you doing? I can't believe you said that. Like that's not a this isn't something that we carry after this meeting and you and I have a confrontation. You'd be like, dude, don't call me out like that in the meeting. Be like, no,
Yeah.
we're part of a team and everybody is going to get called out for their mistakes, and it's not a personal attack. It's not me trying to get you fired so I can take your position. I said it because I know you're better than that. Maybe you had a late night and you just weren't on your game.
Right.
But if I'm not real with you, it's like having a friend who won't tell you your wife's cheating on you.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, things will work out, even though he knows what's going on in the background.
Right.
What good is he doing?
None. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sort of taking this another step further. Talking about getting rid of folks. I don't know that I had mentors, maybe not mentors, but leaders around me when I was first became a hiring manager is what I would call it. But when I first started like being responsible for building my own teams out and whatever, there's a lot of interview, tips and tricks and whatnot. But overall theories, I had the culture that I was sort of first brought into in management was, slow to hire, quick to fire
Hmm.
is the is the mindset, um,
Yeah.
and that's hard. Uh, but I obviously there's a point to it, right? Um, but one of the things I take pride in personally, there are certainly situations that I can envision that would be immediately fireable offenses. I haven't had any of those, honestly. Um,
That's
you know,
because it's tough to offend you.
no, no, there are certainly situations where I would fire someone on the spot. But one of the things I take pride in is no one who's worked for any of my organizations to this date has ever been surprised by being let go. And so there's a process,
Mhm.
and um, you can say performance plan, you can say all these other. My first step is to explain where the mishaps are happening, give them a chance to rectify it, and whether it's a realistic chance, whether I think they can do it or not, is a different story. But another thing I do parallel to that is I have them read Extreme Ownership, and I remember it was in the first handful of guys I had to let go. The guy like flat out just didn't read. I'm like, what do you want me to do with it? Like this shows everything to me.
Right.
Like that's step one. Read the damn book that I gave you,
Yeah.
right?
So that we can actually have a conversation. You know what my mindset is. Like,
Yes.
obviously, if I'm asking you to read this, there's something that I believe in
Yep.
that is a valuable tool.
And so that one was easy. I don't know what he expected, uh, but even guys who have read the book and they're like, all right, try to give it a second to settle in, and let's apply what we're learning in that book to what we do. here in the real world. Um, to me, that book gets rid of a lot of excuses, a lot of yeah buts. Like, stop. Like, you're blaming everybody else. You're
Hmm.
not actually taking ownership. Like,
Yeah.
explain to me where Jocko talks about this. It's the whole
Right.
fucking book.
Yeah. I mean, it's
And
always been my mentality is if your organization is failing, then you're failing as management, as leadership, and
yep.
that trickles down. Like you can't put that on a certain group of employees. If your employees are failing, you're failing. It's your fault that they're failing. Either
Hmm.
you're allowing it, you're not training it, you're not helping to rectify it,
Yep.
you're just letting it fester to the detriment. And the whole time you're sitting there pointing fingers going, well, they didn't screw this up, then I'd be in a good position. Well, if you didn't let them screw it up, you'd be in a good position.
Right. Right. Um, which sort of ties into another thing. I know you and I probably attack this a little bit differently, but I think it's out of utility versus real difference in thought. Uh, but like, I've just been in sales for so long, right? And so salespeople, in a lot of ways, are a little bit different animals. And talking about like controlling the culture and controlling your narrative and that kind of thing. Um, there's a certain amount of bitching that's going to go on behind your back. You have to understand that. But if you are open to being like, I want to be the first one that people bitch to. Like, if you got something to say it,
Hmm.
right? Uh, and not be afraid of those conversations. I love those conversations. Not like I really want them, but I love, first of all, being able to control it, and not from a manipulative standpoint, but help people from just bitching for the sake of bitching. I
Right.
mean, on some level, it's human nature, but also with the leaders on, specifically on sales teams, you know who your leaders are within the teams. If they're bitching, there's a trickle down effect, and everybody's day gets a little shittier because someone's bitching about stuff all
Don't piss on my leg and call it trickle down.
the time. um, so
On topic.
it if you can get out in front of those things, have the relationships with your team to control it, it's much easier to give them a new perspective, to give them more, and that, like, there are certain things that I get almost like a unwritten set of rules around me. Is like, I'm going to be very black and white. You can ask me anything. We can talk about anything. I will give you more information than you probably deserve, or that I owe. Like, I don't owe you this information, but also there's a trust that goes along with that. And I'm going to
Yeah,
be black and white. I'm not going to lie to you, but also, if you if you go around my back and you try to use that information against me, you're dead forever. Like, there's no coming back from it.
right, right. Yeah,
So,
and I think it's one thing to say like, look, open door policy. Come talk to me about anything. I'm going to give you, I'm cutting
yep.
through the fat and going to give you the real, answers. Um,
Everybody thinks they can
eh,
do it. It's hard. It's hard.
well, yeah, and then it's also building the relationship to where the people that you're talking to, you're telling that to, actually believe it, right? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
one thing to solicit the information, and they're going to hold back because they don't know. Like, look, if I tell Win he's full of shit, is he going to fire me? Like, or
Yeah.
can I
Sometimes
be
you got to test it.
honest? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times people are scared to do that, but that becomes part of the cultivate, like creating the culture
Mm-hmm.
within your organization of like, okay, I can have my bitch fest with Win, and I know he's going to straighten me out and tell me, the sky's not falling, that I'm missing this perspective or I'm missing this piece of information.
Yep.
Um, but having that trust to be able to like, can I really have this conversation with Win, or is he going to bite my head off?
Right. Right.
Um,
I think that's important. And again, like, it's sort of, if you zoom out into like what your roles are, what you're trying to do, like, and it's just like a coach. But in a perfect world, you want the most production and efficiency out of your team.
Right.
And, and
Right.
so how do you do that?
Yeah, and like a sports environment, if your coach isn't talking to you, you're doing something wrong,
Hmm.
right? If you're just going showing up at practice and he's not making any corrections, he's not yelling at you, he's not, there's an issue. Like you need to be noticed,
Yeah.
whether that's doing something good or, you know, him trying to make you better from the mistakes you made. If you're
Right.
sitting there, striking out, during BP all day long, you can't touch the ball and he's not helping you, he's giving up on you. He doesn't
Yeah.
care. Like you might as well go find a different team or change the way you are approaching things, whether you're, a lot of times managers will give up on employees that don't care, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're showing me I'm putting forth all this effort and you're not reciprocating with the effort on your side, there's only so much I can do before I'm going to go put my resources into finding somebody who wants this more than you do.
Hmm. Yeah. I like that. So yeah, I think there's large dividends that are paid by having those kind of relationships. And I guess just to further my thought a little bit, there are a few things my guys know that like I don't put up with as far as like the behind closed doors drama BS. Like, don't talk about compensation. Don't talk about shit like that we've talked about. Like these are personal conversations, and don't be a cancer, right? Like it's
Right.
I know you're gonna have buddies, on the team and people that you can talk to, but also understand you're bringing their day down every time you start bitching to them about what you have going on.
And don't pile on when you hear somebody like be the problem solver. That's what I tell some of my
Yeah.
key people always like, look, we brought you in under the tent. You know kind of the ingredients to the secret sauce. So when you hear others, griping and bitching about, certain scenarios or situations, I need your help to squash that. You
Yeah.
can come back and we can discuss it, but I need you to squash it right there. Don't jump on board and be like, yeah, that sucks. I know what you're saying. Squash it, help change their perspective so that it doesn't fester and,
Yep.
it doesn't become a contagion where all the other people on the team are going to start hearing that and agreeing with it, because it becomes a group think mentality when it could have no factual basis whatsoever. It's just the way that somebody feels or somebody thinks something's going, oh, this company is going out of business. Well,
Yep.
why would you say that? Well, because, you drop this customer over here. Well, that was a strategic move. That's no indication that we're going out of business.
Right.
That was a C client that was we were dragging an anchor with. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you got to fire people, and that includes your customers if it's not if the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Uh, Always evaluating, always making sure that I know in our world and it sort of combines a few different topics that we've already talked about, but if you're trying to grow horizontally and specifically looking at bringing on other product lines that are in your same world, the first thing I always ask is like, all right, how much resources are we going to have to put into this, and what is our expected return?
Hmm.
And so, in other words, I just to make it simple, if we're not going to make 10% more and it's going to cost us more than 10% of our time and resources, this is not a good deal for us. And
Right.
it makes it difficult, frankly, to find the right place to grow. But if I, in my mind, that's really the first evaluation.
Hmm.
And because I've screwed it up so many times, like things sound like really good. Oh, this will be awesome to add to the portfolio. This our customers would love this. Blah blah blah. And next thing you know, you're spending half your day on this new little widget, and you're like, this isn't worth it at all.
Right. Right.
But you don't figure that out till later. It's
Yeah,
unfortunately.
and sometimes you can't. All you can do is make the best decision based on the information you have at hand. So the enthusiasm behind doing something new and expanding is always going to sort of tilt the scale towards yes versus no.
Yeah.
Um, and but you do, you look at the ROI, right? Like what is the lift, and if is there a ramp period,
Yeah,
right? Like so am I gonna say, all right, 60% penetration in the first 6 months of this new launch, and then by month 18 we'll be at 100%,
right,
um,
right.
to where it may take a little bit more effort at the beginning,
Yeah,
but
and
it's
that's
going to pay.
fair.
It's going to be worth it in the long run because we'll be able to pull our effort level back, 80%, and this
And you may
thing will
have
be on cruise
synergies between
control.
product lines and like all these other positive things. That's right.
Right. So
Um,
you do have to have some patience with it too.
yep. And not to be a cornball, but like I always, I think most folks are naturally optimistic or naturally pessimistic. Um, and it's important for you to know which one you are. And again, this is where the cornball part comes in. But I still like going back and making an old school pros and cons list.
Mhm.
Uh, I think naturally you're probably more of the optimist, and I'm probably more of the guy who likes to poke holes in things just to pressure test it first. So you can call that negative, um, which is I think why we've worked well together in a lot of ways. But I think you know that about yourself. I know that about myself. Um, but I do write down all the pros as well,
Yeah.
even though I do like to try to poke holes in all kinds of ideas.
Well, I'm typically optimistic in a sense that my opinions are based on the facts, the information that I have. So I'm typically, somebody's like, "Hey, I got a great new business idea. What do you think?" And I'm not gonna say I love it or I hate it right
Right.
off the rip. I'm gonna need to
No, you're
know
gonna have a
more.
million
And
questions.
and then when I buy in, I'm gonna be 100% optimistic. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I've done my due diligence. Maybe I don't know all the facts, but I've seen enough. It's
Yeah.
kind of like the Shark Tank guys, right?
Yep.
Those guys, people come on there, pitch their business, and they're asking basic information.
Yep.
What do your sales look like? What's the ownership structure? Now your value, you want 10%, you're offering me 10%, and your company has, you know, you're putting a value at $10 million. Now let's justify that. And they make a decision on whether or not they want to get in bed with that business. Now, again, it's all preliminary to where they're doing, their due diligence after the fact. But
Right.
initially, it's based on key elements that they look at before they get excited or optimistic behind something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. But nonetheless, I think knowing where you stand on that, like knowing what your natural reflexes are, and going through and being very careful in the way you're growing and the way you want to expand, um, is vital. Right.
Yeah, yeah, 1,000%. But I
Yeah.
mean, that's sort of why I'll come to you to bounce ideas off of, because I know
Same.
you're going to beat it up from a perspective that I wasn't necessarily considering. And I think that's you can't make any decisions in a vacuum. It's
No.
always good to have at least one or two key advisors or confidants that they're gonna help you beat something up, even if it's like this is my dream. I've finally figured out how I can do this. You know, don't tell me no.
Yeah.
Like being able to hear well, but you forgot about this. How are you going to overcome? I'm not saying you can't overcome it, but you need to have a plan on how you're
Yeah.
going to address this.
Right. Right. Yeah. Um, there's so much of the entrepreneurial spirit, I think, that is just like I'm gonna do it hell or high water. I'll figure it the fuck out kind of
Hmm.
mindset, and it's great. Uh, but just like you said, you're in a much better situation if you know which way the punches are going to be coming from,
Right.
right? You um, that's what you're trying not to do. You're trying to prevent yourself from being blindsided by any of this stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's the ultimate goal. And that goes back full circle to where you're talking about with, the boots on the ground and the people, needing to be able to make decisions that are 2 or 3 levels removed from you as the owner or you as the C-level executive is, I don't want to be surprised, right? So let's address this and then let it filter through. through the chain of command the way it's supposed to be. I don't want to have something, 3 levels removed come directly to me and go, whoa, where'd
Yeah.
this come from? And has
Right.
this person addressed it? Did you try this? Like, don't do that.
Right. Yeah. And just I know we've talked about this in the past, you and I, but this is like where the Secret Service concentric circles idea comes from, right?
Right.
And I know you understand that, but like just for the sake of this podcast, what that's talking about is whenever the president or I guess the main person who's being protected goes out, there's one group of folks that's right around them. There's another circle that's a little wider that call it doing crowd work that is another layer of defense. And then, in a simple explanation, just say there's 3 levels here. The third level would be like the snipers or the folks that are looking at the choke points and really on the periphery. And
Hmm.
so having problems or even negative or positive information going up and downstream correctly, having those concentric circles, I think, is important for your whole team to understand. Um,
And
for
the
one,
key
it gives your
element,
ground guys relevance and responsibility. They know that they're responsible for that small circle,
yeah.
right?
And
Uh,
the key element to all that is communication. So all those, in your Secret Service example, all those guys have an earpiece in and they're on the same channel, right?
mm-hmm.
So they're all getting the same information.
Yep.
Certain people have certain different, have different responsibilities. Say, hey, I'm doing this, let you know to be ready to do something else,
Right.
versus living in this silo where the information can't escape until the top blows off, which is
Right.
not good for anybody.
Exactly.
So being
Yeah.
on the same channel with that communication is a key element to making that structure work. You can't set that structure up and not have the inner level communication because then
Right.
it falls apart and you have separate distinct circles that aren't helping each other out. They actually work to constrict and choke out the ultimate protectee.
Right. And, for your newer managers, I know we talk about this a lot, but I think it does require a fair amount of attention. In this analogy, there's sort of that middle circle, and you can see if that middle circle is tightened down because they want to be the guy, they want to fix all the problems, or they want to take all the credit. You lost you lost your middle ring of circumference.
Right.
Like you can't, like you just screwed it up because you had to be the guy closest to the issue.
Right.
Just stop. Like you have a job to do. You
Stay
can
in
do
your
it from
lane.
back here. Yeah, keep your distance.
Yeah.
So it's an analogy I've used for a while, and obviously, like just like I can't think of any analogies or my sayings that I've actually come up with. Um, but I would just say these are ones that have been shoved in my ear holes and have made a difference in real world situations in my experience.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe, maybe next time we'll get into what are those real world experiences to,
Yeah,
actually say, all right, we've talked a lot of theory now. What let's talk some
yeah. What does that look like?
real world application of this stuff. So we're not just, sitting in our ivory towers talking about all these great ideas and like, have you ever
Yeah,
really done any of this stuff? I mean, yeah, we got plenty of war
right.
stories to share.
Yeah, I,
So
yeah. Just like you. I know like the reason these things have resonated over time is because we've screwed them up in the past,
yeah, yeah. But we
right?
tend not to make the same mistake twice.
Try to,
Yep.
try
So,
to.
all right.
So
Well, I think it was a good little summation today, or a little discussion point. So,
yeah,
um, we'll see what's in store for next time as
love
we
it.
make this stuff up.
That's right. All right. Till next time.
All right. See you on the flip side.
Later.